Well, it's officially official. The Rays have their new stadium, and they're staying in St. Petersburg. The Tampa Bay Rays are a Major League Baseball team that plays in the American League East Division. Since their first game in 1998, they have played at Tropicana Field in the city of St. Petersburg, a domed stadium that has a bit of an interesting history behind it. It was built in the 1980s in an attempt to entice an MLB team to move to the area, and indeed the Chicago White Sox used the then Florida Suncoast Dome as leverage to build what is now called Guaranteed Rate Field, which is a disturbingly common theme when teams want new stadiums. Tampa Bay then lost out on the 1993 expansion round as two potential ownership groups clashed with each other, and MLB decided to place new teams in Colorado and Miami instead. The San Francisco Giants came oh so close to moving to Tampa Bay in 1992, but the National League owners blocked the deal, and the team was eventually sold to new owners who kept the team in San Francisco. Interesting concept. The Arena Football League's Tampa Bay Storm moved in 1991, but the newly renamed Thunderdome finally got a Major League team when the NHL's Tampa Bay Lightning decided to make their home there in 1993. It was a bit of an awkward fit, actually. An ice rink is much smaller than a baseball field, so in order to make the venue suitable for hockey, they stuffed the rink in the corner by home plate, built temporary stands, and hung curtains from the roof to make the stadium seem smaller and more intimate, much like Hard Rock Stadium in Miami does when the Miami Open of tennis is held there for 2 weeks each year. Despite this, the stadium set the NHL record for highest single-game attendance in a team's regular stadium, playoffs or otherwise, in 1996, as 28,183 fans came to see the Lightning take on the Flyers, a record which still holds to this day. Then, in 1999, the white whale was finally caught. Tampa Bay was awarded the expansion franchise that would eventually be called the Devil Rays and then simply the Rays. The stadium, too, underwent another name change as the orange juice company Tropicana, calcium vitamin D no pulp please and thank you, bought the naming rights, and since then the stadium has been nicknamed, affectionately or otherwise, the Trop. For the longest time, the Trop and the Rays have had attendance issues. Most of the time, the place is half full or less, even when the Rays are good, except for when Yankees and Red Sox fans flood the place when those teams are in town. This boils down to two main issues. One, there's really nothing to do around the stadium. The local authorities demolished a neighborhood called the Gas Plant District in one of those 1970s urban renewal plans in order to build the ballpark, but didn't build the surrounding neighborhood back up as they had promised. And two, most of the population in the area is on the other side of the bay in Tampa proper, and crossing the bridge to get to the Trop is apparently pretty inconvenient. Ask any NYCFC fan about attending home games at Red Bull Arena in New Jersey, and they'll tell you the same thing. But is all that about to change? The new stadium will still be located in St. Petersburg. In fact, it'll still be located in the Gas Plant District, so clearly the Rays don't think that location is as big a problem as the rest of us think it is. The modern ballpark will have about 30,000 seats, which is about 3/4 of the full capacity of the Trop, and will also have a fixed roof, without the annoying catwalks this time, because, you know, Florida heat and humidity and, oh yeah, hurricanes. But with giant openable windows in order to bring the outside in whenever possible. The biggest difference this time is that the Rays in St. Petersburg have committed to fulfilling that promise they made the residents of the Gas Plant District some 40-odd years ago. The new ballpark will be the centerpiece of a mixed-use development that should benefit the community for years to come, with 6,000 housing units, multiple business opportunities, and racial equity built into the plan. When the Rays are out of season, the ballpark is still expected to be open year-round as a community hub. Of the $1.3 billion it will cost to build the ballpark, St. Petersburg will pay $600 million, and the Rays will pay the rest, including overruns. That is a lot of public money. But even though it doesn't meet the ideal of a fully privately funded stadium, the Rays will at least be paying half or more of the cost, which can't be said for some other stadiums currently being built in this country. Buffalo. So, For all of the posturing, for all of the relocation rumors, and the potential of playing games in Montreal, the Rays in St. Petersburg eventually came to an agreement that will keep the Rays in the only place they've ever called home and provide a massive benefit to the local community. Why can't John Fisher and the Oakland Athletics do the same thing? As I said in my last piece, it's not like there wasn't the potential to have a similar project in the Bay Area. The Howard Terminal Stadium was supposed to be a similar mixed-use development with the new A's ballpark as a centerpiece. But the A's allegedly wanted the city of Oakland to make more and more concessions that Oakland wasn't willing to make, and that's what pushed Fisher to look to Las Vegas. And all you really have to do to guess if Fisher will change his mind is to look at what happened to the Las Vegas Raiders after they made their move from Oakland. Between 1968 and 1981, and again between 1995 and 2019, the A's shared the Coliseum with the Raiders, and they were the very last baseball team to share their stadium with a football team. No, not that kind of football. This kind. Why is it always Yankee Stadium? Anyway, Oakland Coliseum is one of those multi-purpose cookie-cutter stadiums that was designed to house both baseball and football, but turned out to be not so great for both, which is why most of them don't exist anymore. As it turns out, the Coliseum has been deteriorating for far longer than should be humanly allowed, and after ruining the aesthetics of the building in 1996 with the addition of Mount Davis, the Raiders decided not to take responsibility for their mistake and started looking for a new home. A proposal to replace the Coliseum with a stadium on the same site fell through in 2013, and afterwards it seems the Raiders were dead set on leaving Oakland, as they never seriously considered any more proposals to stay. After a failed bid to move back to Los Angeles, the Raiders eventually agreed to move to Las Vegas in what is one of the most egregious cases of a billionaire getting other people to pay for something he wants for himself. The state of Nevada committed a staggering $750 million in public money to build Allegiant Stadium, which looks like a giant Roomba. So much money that they had to raise the state hotel tax by 0.88% to fund part of it. Maybe it's just me, but if you have to raise taxes to pay for a stadium, you're doing something very wrong. Or you're desperate. Which one was Las Vegas? Yes. In contrast, the entire $780 million cost of NYCFC's new stadium will be privately financed by the club, with no public money involved, which is how it should be. Here's the kicker. In 2020, the first year that the Raiders played in Las Vegas, they were worth $3.1 billion. Just 2 years later, in 2022, their valuation had shot up to $5.1 billion. This, despite away team fans constantly flooding Allegiant Stadium to watch their team play against the Raiders, rather than Raiders fans filling out the place. Maybe that hotel tax raise wasn't such a bad idea after all. When I said in my last piece that sports team owners don't really care about optics, this is what I meant. Who cares that the stands are full of people supporting the opposing team when all of that money is going into my pocket and the franchise is printing even more money than it was before? And that is exactly why I think John Fisher is going to commit to moving his baseball team to Las Vegas. He can see the billionaire success story that is the Las Vegas Raiders and think, I can do that too. Who cares if the new Las Vegas baseball stadium becomes Dodger Stadium East or Yankee Stadium West number 2? This move is going to make bank, and that's all that matters. But notice I said his baseball team and not the A's. With the Rays now having an agreement for a new stadium, will the team that Fisher eventually moves be called the Athletics or something else? The looming conclusions to the A's and Rays stadium sagas finally reopens the door on MLB expansion, something which people have felt is a long time coming. And there is no hard and fast rule that says that so-called expansion teams can't be placed in a city that used to have a baseball team, but no longer does. In fact, that is exactly how the Mets, Royals, and Mariners came into existence, to replace a team that had previously left for another city. But as an additional wrinkle, Fisher could agree or be forced to leave the A's identity and legacy in Oakland for the potential new team to assume. Although this kind of move hasn't happened in MLB yet, it's not without precedent in other sports leagues. It's happened at least 3 times that I can find. In 1996, the Cleveland Browns organization controversially relocated to Baltimore and became the Ravens, and the Browns resumed play in 1999. And in 2005, the San Jose Earthquakes organization relocated to Houston and became the Dynamo, and the Earthquakes resumed play in 2008. The case of the Charlotte Hornets is a little more curious. In 2002, the Hornets relocated to New Orleans but kept the name and history, and a new Charlotte Bobcats team began play in 2004. But in 2014, the New Orleans franchise renamed themselves the Pelicans and relinquished the legacy of the Hornets to the Charlotte franchise, which once again became the Hornets. Thus, the Pelicans are retroactively considered a new team that began play in 2002, while the Hornets are considered to have simply gone on hiatus from 2002 to 2004 and include the period as the Bobcats in their history. This, then, might be considered an acceptable compromise in the A's relocation saga. Fisher would get to keep his organization, his money, his team's net worth, and maybe his players and staff too, and can try to increase the value of his team in the tourist capital of the world, where every game will be an away game, but it won't matter because Fisher will be relaxing in bathtubs full of Benjamins. And the people of Oakland get to keep the A's. I think I know who's getting the better part of the deal there. This would be without precedent in baseball, and indeed without precedent in the A's own history, as both of the times they have moved, they have taken the team's identity and legacy with them. It wouldn't, however, be the first time that Fisher himself is involved in this kind of deal, as he owns the San Jose Earthquakes and was actually one of the major investors who spearheaded the revival of the Earthquakes after the original organization moved to Houston. By the way, he's starting to pull the same, "the stadium's outdated, I need a new stadium" shenanigans with them too. So, Earthquake fans, look out. Again. Regardless, outside of Fisher selling up and getting out of baseball, this is probably the solution that would make most people happy. And with the long lead-up time to the opening of the potential Las Vegas baseball stadium, there is the possibility that the A's may not even have to go on hiatus for a couple of years if the new ownership group is ready to go immediately after Fisher leaves. So look, John Fisher more than likely isn't going to sell his baseball team. The cost to buy is too high, and the potential to make money hand over fist in a different location is too great for him to even consider it. But the Rays finally getting their new stadium opens up a different route to keeping the A's in Oakland. We just have to hope that the powers that be have the prescience, and indeed hindsight in the case of Fisher himself, to see this plan and carry it out.